What if plants make sounds when they're stressed, but humans simply can't hear them? Well, scientists have actually recorded ultrasonic clicks from plants under stress. And the strange part is not just that the sounds exist, it's what they might mean. To really unpack this, we have to completely rethink our relationship with the natural world. I mean, if the plants in our homes and gardens are literally broadcasting their distress, it means we've been entirely oblivious to a whole conversation happening right under our noses. It changes everything. Part 1. The Silent World Myth. So for generations, biology just kind of assumed that plants were fundamentally mute. But here's the catch. The upper limit of human hearing peaks right around 20 kilohertz. We are biologically locked out of anything higher than that. Meanwhile, researchers found that these plant distress signals are broadcasting in an ultrasonic range of 20 to 150 kilohertz. So we haven't been ignoring them. We've literally just been deaf to an entirely different frequency of life echoing right next to us. Now, we already knew plants communicate in other ways, right? Like when you smell fresh-cut grass, you're actually smelling a chemical distress signal, volatile organic compounds released into the air. And sure, we know they change color or droop when they're sick, but the discovery of true airborne acoustic sounds, that is a real game changer. It reveals this hidden language right in our own backyards, suggesting a level of active, real-time signaling we just never thought possible.
Part 2. Listening to tomatoes.
Okay, let's dive into how they actually figured this out. Scientists at Tel Aviv University had to build a totally silent, highly controlled environment. They put tomato and tobacco plants inside acoustically sealed boxes, and then placed these incredibly sensitive dual ultrasonic microphones just 10 centimeters away, pointing straight at the stems. Using 2 mics, let them filter out random electrical noise and isolate the exact source. Then they put the plants under some common stresses, cutting some and totally depriving others of water. And the results? Absolutely wild. Drought-stressed tomato plants emitted an average of 35.4 distinct sounds every single hour. Cut plants? They emitted around 25. Now compare that to the control groups, the healthy, watered plants, which put out less than 1 sound per hour. These stressed plants weren't just making a little noise. They were loudly and actively crying out into the ultrasonic void. Part 3. Decoding the plant language. But finding out a plant makes noise is really only half the puzzle. The big question is, do those noises actually contain specific information? Are they just random biological glitches, or is it a structured language? To figure this out, scientists brought in machine learning. They fed all these clicks into AI models to hunt for a pattern. And astonishingly, the models could identify whether a plant was dry or fully watered in a noisy, real-world greenhouse setting with 84% accuracy. That's right, the AI could literally hear the difference between a thirsty plant and a healthy one just from the sounds. When you look closely at the precise waveforms and power spectra of these sounds, you see these really distinct frequency peaks. If we were to take these ultrasonic waves, compress them, and pitch them all the way down into a range where our human ears could pick them up, they wouldn't sound like some long, mournful wail. Instead, they sound much more like rapid pops, distinct clicks, or the sharp snapping of bubble wrap. Which brings us to a pretty profound question. How exactly does a plant, something with literally no vocal cords and no lungs, generate a sound that can be heard meters away? Well, the science points to a phenomenon called cavitation. Basically, cavitation is this biological process where air bubbles form, expand, and collapse in a plant's xylem. The xylem is essentially the plant's internal plumbing system. So as it struggles to pull up water, things get a little chaotic in those pipes. Let's break this microscopic event down into 3 clear steps. First, as the soil dries out, the water pressure inside the plant stem drops significantly. Second, this extreme tension causes the water column to physically break, which allows tiny air bubbles to rapidly form inside those xylem tubes. And third, these bubbles eventually collapse under the changing pressure. When they collapse, they create a sudden, violent vibration that radiates outward. Bam! An ultrasonic click. Part 4. The sound of thirst. So if cavitation is the physical engine behind the noise, how does a plant's acoustic behavior change as it gets sicker day by day? Tracking this data reveals a pretty tragic yet totally fascinating story. On day 1 without water, a plant is mostly quiet. But as dehydration really sets in, the plant's cries for water escalate dramatically. They peak right around 4 to 5 days. At that point, it is practically screaming in ultrasonic clicks. But then, as time goes on, and the plant's vascular system completely dries up and fails, those sounds just gradually fade away into total silence. Part 5. Why plant whispers matter. Okay, so we know plants make these complex noises, but why does this actually matter to us in the real world? Well, beyond just being a wild biological quirk, this explainer highlights massive implications that could totally change our future. Think about agriculture. Right now, farmers rely on visual cues or soil sensors to know when to water crops. But what if they could literally listen to their fields? By setting up ultrasonic microphones, we could remotely monitor crop water levels and detect diseases way before any visual symptoms show up. Research even suggests that this kind of precise acoustic-based irrigation could potentially save up to 50% on agricultural water costs. In a world dealing with climate change and severe droughts, literally listening to our food grow could save vital global resources.
Part 6. A New Acoustic World.
Let's zoom out for a second past human agriculture and look at the broader global ecology, because this discovery forces us to fundamentally reimagine nature itself. We have to ask, if our artificial microphones and machine learning models can decode these distress calls, who else is already listening out there? We know for a fact that insects like moths and mammals like mice have the hearing sensitivity to detect these exact ultrasonic frequencies from several meters away. Is a moth using these sounds to decide which plant is too sick to host its eggs? Are neighboring plants eavesdropping on these clicks to trigger their own drought defenses? It's entirely possible the forest is just buzzing with acoustic communication. Ultimately, this whole explainer leaves us with one incredibly powerful thought. The next time you walk past a wilting houseplant or stand in a dry field, just remember, the world is not silent. We just haven't been listening. So, what else are they saying?